Sign language is usually associated with hearing loss, but in the last few years, many Canadian parents have been learning it so they can communicate with their hearing babies. Does that mean these children will grow up speaking at least 2 languages? Maybe, but maybe not. In many ways, Andrea Guest is a typical 15-month-old. She has just started walking and she's learning to talk. But she's already been communicating with her parents for months without speaking a single word.
Good.
That was the sign for help.
Yeah. Oi.
Andrea hears fine, so does everyone in her family. But she's been using simple sign language since she was 8 months old.
Well, I just thought it'd be a good idea because we realized that she was getting frustrated with us, and I think we were getting a bit frustrated too at not knowing what she wanted.
Sandra had heard something about teaching babies to sign. One day she saw some instruction books. She bought one and began using signs with Andrea. She started with 3 signs: milk, eat, and more. Andrea made her first sign 2 weeks later.
She was pretty happy when she started signing. She would make the sign, get whatever she wanted immediately, and she would smile and laugh, and she would clap at herself.
That's the kind of story Joseph Garcia likes to hear. He lives in Bellingham, Washington. Garcia developed the idea of teaching hearing infants to sign after noticing how easily his deaf friends communicated with their babies.
I don't think there's anything more frustrating for a parent than to have a child crying and not know what's wrong. Now, if you can offer a simple gesture or two and help a child to relieve that stress of not being able to communicate, that's a pretty empowering, as I mentioned, and also a very liberating event for a parent to be able to respond.
Over the last 15 years, Garcia's idea has developed into a small industry in the U.S. with classes, books, and tapes. And now, courses for parents and babies are popping up in Canada. This one at the Ottawa Deaf Centre is one of the first.
Everybody remembers Cookie? Yeah, Cookie.
Cookie.
Cookie, very good, Marina. Yay!
Louise Ford started teaching this course last summer with 12 families. It attracted so much interest that by the fall, 100 families had signed up. The course doesn't use any particular book. It offers several, including Garcia's, as references. The idea is not to teach the baby signs, but for the parents to learn them and incorporate them in their life. And the babies are learning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you do horse? Yeah, it's a horse.
Lucy Ross Blevis is 12.5 months old. Ford and Garcia recommend 6 months as a good age to start signing. Lucy's parents have been doing it since she was born.
These signs that she's doing here, it's for fun and for conversation, but the ones where she can just pleasantly say she wants food, or she can just pleasantly say she wants milk or water or whatever, those are the ones that really help you out of bad situations where she would otherwise have to, make a big fuss or something like that. And it's so easy to do it. I mean, it didn't take us any effort to do it. I mean, she was just a baby. We just signed it.
You just had to stick with it and make a conscious effort to do it. Every time you gave her something to eat, you made the milk sign.
Even Ford admits part of what parents are learning is simply to pay attention.
That's the dog.
Some of the other gestures that babies naturally develop on their own, a lot of parents don't recognize them. When we introduce them to this program, they start paying attention more to the signals that their baby is giving them. And sometimes it's the baby's own, and sometimes it's a more formalized one that the parents have introduced.
Milk.
Milk, good girl.
Garcia says signing is a good way to introduce children to formal language a year before they can speak. But what's really important is it helps parents be better parents.
It's not so much for the babies. The babies are already engaging in life in their own time frame and their own level of development. But for the parents to be more in tune with what the child needs and wants is sort of what all the materials are all about, is to help the parents be more engaged with their children, to be able to interact with them on a much more intimate level and more specific level.
We can understand what she's thinking. Like the other day we were at the Harveys, and she kept going over to the table and she would do the motorcycle sign, but I mean, if she hadn't been doing the motorcycle sign, there were motorcycles outside, but we wouldn't have known that when that's what she was thinking about. We were able to pick her up and talk to her about the motorcycles and stuff like that. And I'm sure it makes it really nice for her that we know we can talk to her about what she's thinking about, what she wants to talk about.
The idea that there are months, even years, when most hearing parents can't understand their hearing children is almost incomprehensible to deaf parents. They sign with their babies, hearing or deaf, from the beginning. Tony Fenn is glad his language can help out, and he hopes it will lead to bigger gains.
It promotes deaf culture as well, and so maybe those little children will grow up and be able to communicate more with deaf people.
We're going to have a whole generation, hopefully, of parents and children who see sign language and the deaf community as a resource, and see sign as a symbol of an ability rather than one of a disability. We must give credit to the deaf community, because the deaf community are the ones who gave us, these people are the ones who gave us this beautiful language that we can use as a resource.
But how much of a resource? These babies learn to talk with or before their peers, and once they do, they generally stop signing.
What we are seeing is that as babies develop a verbal symbol for something, they are dropping the sign. So the verbal symbols certainly are coming along at either appropriate stages or what appears to be early.
In the end, these babies seem to grow into children with better language and literacy skills than their peers.
But I don't believe it's because of the signs, of course, and it may not even be because of the language necessarily, as much as it is this increased engagement between the caregiver and the child. The caregiver is much more engaged and involved in the process of helping the child understand the world.
My hunch is that it probably has something to do with that devoted time between mom and baby that is really the crux of those improvements.
Andrea's parents aren't really concerned about the research, and they don't know what role sign language will play in her future.
I'm not sure that she'll remember it when she starts talking a mile a minute. I'm not sure if she'll use it at all anymore, or if she'll remember it or anything like that. But if she does, that's great.
They say sign language has already fulfilled a purpose for them. It has given them a way to communicate with their daughter before she could talk.